Hey community, what's going on? This is Twiggieee. Welcome to the second episode of the Ultimate DPS series. I designed this series to help the AQ3D community find out what weapons, armor, and capes had the highest DPS in the game. That way you could add these items onto your character and you can hit like a god. I'll be following the updates that are released, so if any items come out of these updates, I'll then compare those new items with the highest performing item in that genre. So if we get a new sword, I'll then compare it with the previous top performer of DPS in the sword section. If we get new armor, then I'll do the same for armor, and so on for capes. In the last episode, we had a look at the Scale Slayer sword and the Precious Crystal Staff. What we found was that the critical damage of the Precious Crystal Staff outweighed the haste of the Scale Slayer, and we ended up killing 10 Warsworns 8 seconds quicker than the Scale Slayer with the staff. In this episode I'm going to compare the Precious Crystal Dagger and the Precious Crystal Staff against each other. I'm actually really excited to record this footage because I'm hearing a lot of people in the YouTube community and in-game claim that the Dagger has the highest DPS. I'm a bit skeptical about this only because of the last episode. Basically it was a test between critical damage and haste in the last episode, and we've kind of got a very similar thing with the Dagger as well. So the Dagger has 6 attack more than the staff and 20 haste more than the staff, but the staff has 21 more crit than the Dagger. So if you look at the statistics from the last episode, this is a very similar situation as before, so I'm predicting that the staff is going to come up ahead again. And now we can get the proper statistics as to whether or not the Dagger is the best DPS weapon in the game. I also decided to run the staff again just for accuracy purposes. So one thing I didn't explain in the last episode was the fact that I've got a structure as to what skills I use. So for example, I start off with the second warrior ability, hit the third warrior ability, and then hit the fourth. And then I'll go to the second warrior ability, and then I will do each ability as they become available. One rule I did set myself though was no war cry, that way we're only going off of the stats that the weapon gives you and not a buff. So the final time that we got with the staff on the second try was 8 minutes and 54 seconds and 92 milliseconds. Slightly slower than the last performance that we had in the last video, but that's to be expected as we are working with some RNG at the moment. And now it's time to give the Dagger a go. And before we start, I just want to comment on the fact that I really love the look of this weapon. I like the shape and how it's got a little bobble in the middle, and then the design and pattern on the actual blade itself is really nice. That's my little review of the aesthetics of the item. So one thing I noticed while I was using the Dagger was the fact that I was hitting a lot more crits. Now, this is to be expected, the fact that I'm going to hit a lot more crits than the staff, because it does have a little bit more of attack. I just didn't expect the crits to come so often for the fact that we're only dealing with a very small margin for the attack. But I noticed that every 4th or 5th shot was a massive crit, and we'd be hitting, now this isn't a massive number, but on average you'd hit about 150, whereas when I was hitting crits with the Dagger, I was hitting in the 350 range. It's not the max hit I can do with my character, even with the staff. Max hit I've ever hit with this character is 530, and that was with the Precious Crystal Staff. So the final time that we got with the Dagger, I can't actually believe this. What I did with the first episode is I timed the fights while I was fighting them. So I started it as I started attacking, and I finished it as soon as I finished attacking, whereas this episode I decided to do it inside the video editing program. That way I can get millimeter accuracy, so we know by the exact millimeter what time I started and stopped. And we reached 8 minutes 54 seconds and 9 milliseconds. So the difference is about 80 to 90 milliseconds difference. This is how close these two weapons are. And I have a feeling this is because the Dagger has a slight bit more of attack, so we are critting a little bit more often. but it's got less crit. So when it does crit, it's not critting as high as the staff. But then it's got the haste to make up for it, which is what the Slayer didn't have. Whereas the staff, it doesn't crit as often, but when it does crit, it crits a lot higher than the dagger. So this is why we've got such a small margin, literally 80 to 90 milliseconds difference between these two weapons. The dagger did come out on top, um, but look, if you're going for the easy route, go for the dagger. The dagger is extremely easy to get. You can get the dagger within 15 minutes, or at least craft it within 15 minutes. Whereas the staff, you have to kill Clorg, and Clorg is very tough to beat. I got very lucky and got 3 people to help me with Clorg, and we worked really well as a team, but it was a struggle to kill him. Whereas with the dagger, it's a 15-minute job. It's like you have to do one quest 4 times and then another quest once, and then you've got your dagger. So either choose it by your cosmetic or choose it by the easiness. Both of these weapons are just as good for you to choose. I had one guy interrupt me while I was trying to do one of the tests, and so I stepped off onto a ledge, and then one of the war swans, he ended up running, trying to come behind me, so behind the ledge that I was on, and he had to go through this big pathway. You can see it on the screen, and the guy that interrupted me, he's running after this boss. I was honestly pissing myself when I was watching this in real time, and I thought that was just a cool little addition to add at the end. So we had a pretty shocking ending to the video here with the time difference between the two items. I still can't believe that it's so close. I honestly expected the staff to beat the dagger by at least 2 to 3 seconds for the 10 kills. But nonetheless, we know what the difference is between the two, or at least the approximation of what the difference is. And your choice now is, what one do you like cosmetically, or do you want to take the easy road and just get the dagger because it's easier? Hit the subscribe button, thumbs up for the time difference, the 90 milliseconds, and I'll see you in the next video.